Tomorrow, 5:30 p.m, the FA Cup returns to Stamford Bridge when Chelsea host Championship outfit Preston North End, and this is the starting 11 that I want to see Mauricio Pochettino field. Right, what's happening, people, and welcome back to the Joey Knight podcast. If you are new around here, please do me a massive favour. At the end of the video, if you like the content and you want to see more from myself, please hit that subscribe button. Everyone, stop what you are doing right now and smash that like button. It helps me get these videos out more than you could possibly imagine. In this video, I'm going to give my starting 11 that I want to see. I'm going to speak about whether or not we need to go with experienced heads or as experienced as we can offer, or whether we use the cup competitions, much as we did in times gone by, to give the younger players, the youth of the Chelsea team, a bit more of an opportunity to come through. And I am going to give my ultimate, probably somewhat revised score prediction for this game. Right, so starting off with Petrovic in goal. 8 goals conceded in his first 6 games for Chelsea with only 1 clean sheet. May not make for the most impressive reading, but I would argue that this man has been very impressive since coming in. His save against Luton when he tipped that shot onto the bar, I'm pretty sure that's up for one of the saves of the month. I think he pulled off a couple of saves in that game that could be put forward as save of the month for the Premier League. Also, you look at the heroics against Newcastle so far, some of the saves against Crystal Palace. Whenever this man has been in the team so far, I feel that there is a very much a sturdiness around that back line now, a calmness, something that I wasn't getting when Robert Sanchez was in goal. So as much as I was arguing at the time that I didn't think Robert Sanchez was as bad as people were making him out to be, I do think that what Petrovic has showed me so far instills me with a lot more confidence that he should be the man between the sticks for Chelsea going forward. Right back, I'm going Malo Gusto. He is a man that has become very, very important to this Chelsea side, and with the injury to Reece James, we're really benefiting from the fact that we did go out and sign a top quality young right back. I always believe we needed to do it because of the inconsistency in how often we were able to see Reece on the pitch, and now we are really benefiting from having Malo Gusto there. Now, some people may have possibly picked a Sassy in this one, give Malo Gusto a bit of a rest before the Middlesbrough match, but I don't really think he needs it. And also, when you see the way I've gone with this back line, you'll probably see why I haven't picked a Sassy there, because I do believe we need one of our fullbacks who offers a little bit more attacking threat and is able to bomb on. The centre-back pairing, I'm going to start off, and I think this will make a lot of people happy, you know, I'm going Alfie Gilchrist. He showed glimpses of heart and desire so far in a couple of substitute appearances that have already endeared him to the Chelsea faithful. That, and the words of club legend John Terry when he was obviously caught on camera singing Gilchrist's praises. But now I believe that we want to see how he fares from a technical standpoint coming in from the start of a match in that backline. And I actually think there's no better game to possibly bring Gilchrist in for. If you look at the team we're playing in Preston, look, it's no secret that they're not going to be able to match us for individual talent, but what they can match us for is energy, tenacity, overworking us, and hopefully being really physical, especially from set pieces. So I think that this is a good match for Gilchrist to come in. He can play against slightly lower level opposition, but opposition that will still very much be up for it. This could potentially be their biggest game of the season, and for that reason, it is going to mean a lot to them. So I really think that although it's a more ideal match to bring Gilchrist into, rather than if it was, you know, for injury or suspension and when he was forced on to the big stage in a big Premier League match that means a lot to us, I also still think the stakes are high and it is going to mean a lot for the opposition. So Gilchrist will have to be on his game in this one. Now, when I think about the centre-back pairing for him, I'll lay my cards on the table straight away. Ideally, I'll go Thiago Silva here, but we can't ignore the fact that this game's a late kickoff on Saturday, and on Tuesday, we do have, ironically, our biggest match of the season so far. I didn't think that halfway through the season, I'd be sat here and saying Middlesbrough in the semi-finals of the League Cup would be our biggest game of the season, but potentially, that's the way it's going, you know. This Middlesbrough match really needs taking care of. I'd love to take them back to Stamford Bridge in the second leg with a lead over them, because if we can do that, then I believe we've pretty much got one foot in the final. But the Middlesbrough test is a tricky assignment, and I do think that we need to start our best possible defence in that match. And our best possible defence does have Thiago Silva in it. If he's rested properly and he's, you know, up to full fitness, because at 39 years old, he's not getting any younger, I do think that Thiago Silva makes our strongest defence right now. So, for that reason, I don't think I can start Thiago Silva in this match if we're going to be reliant upon him going up to Middlesbrough. So I think then I look at who I would stick Gilchrist next to. Now, Gilchrist has shown already in the glimpses we've seen of him that he's got a lot of passion, a lot of energy, and sometimes that passion and energy can just teeter over the border ever so slightly, and it's good to have a defensive pairing that will bring you back down a little bit and install a bit more calmness in you. Now, Axel Disasi might be an obvious option because of the fact, 25 years old, age-wise, he's the oldest out of who we could pair him with that would be fit and available. Levi Colwell, not too sure. Obviously, we do probably need him over at left-back. I'm going to go with Badia Shil. Badia Shil has been a little bit hit and miss for us so far this season, but in certain games, he's proved to be cool, calm, composed on the ball. In other games, he's proved to be a little bit nonchalant, maybe, and he could do a little bit more. But in this match, I think I'll go with Badia Shil. Now, over on the left-hand side, I've already basically given away my hand here. I'm starting Levi Colwell. Look, Ben Chilwell's not back from injury just yet, although we are hearing that he's training with the first team again. And when I look at Levi Colwell there in comparison to, let's say, maybe Ian Maatsen, well, Ian Maatsen hasn't really played there all that often for us, and it looks like Ian Maatsen is going to Dortmund now. And as much as I truly believe that Ian Maatsen will end up being a very good player who will probably move on for a lot more than we sell him to Dortmund for eventually, look, we do probably need the money to come in. And if we're looking at, Conor Gallagher and we're saying that we don't want to see Conor Gallagher go, I think the price we might have to pay for not seeing Conor Gallagher go might be losing the likes of Ian Maatsen, Trevor Chalobah, potentially even Broha later on down the line. So I wouldn't risk even playing him, injuring him and scuppering that deal if it's there to be done at the right price. Wholeheartedly, I don't know, with a heavy heart, let's say, I'd be happy to let Ian Maatsen go. So I don't want to risk him here. Levi Colwell there, that's fine. Now, in the midfield, I am going to go Enzo and Gallagher in the pivot. And then I'm going to go Cole Palmer in the 10, which means I'm leaving Caicedo out of the midfield. And again, it's the exact same analogy I used. Is it even an analogy? It's not really an analogy, is it? It's the comparison I used with Thiago Silva. I think Caicedo's really, really important for us. A lot of people have been underwhelmed with Caicedo's performances. I think Caicedo's probably shown me more than Enzo has so far in terms of how they've sort of hit the ground running from coming in, but in a short space of time. Because actually, if I'm going on first, 6 months or 4 months or whatever, and I compare it to Enzo's, Enzo really actually did impress me when he came in under Graham Potter and Frank Lampard. He's regressed a little bit this season. Caicedo's sturdy. Caicedo is a very good player, in my opinion. Are we seeing a 100% Caicedo so far? No, I would argue we're not even seeing a 65%. 70%. He is a young player, and he does need to adapt and needs time to work with this manager. But I think in what I'm seeing from Caicedo, he's in the areas I want him to be in. He does get stuck about. He's maybe not the aerial presence and maybe as big as sometimes we would associate players that are doing that job, but Caicedo is a good player. I think it'd be very, very important for us against Borough, who will try and rough us up a little bit, and that's why I want to save his legs. Enzo, I'm hoping, should be fit enough to come back in now. I know that Josh, who will be doing a live stream over on his channel for this game, so check that out. I know that Josh put up on his story earlier, speaking about the possibility of having Andre Santos back, rather than sending him back out on loan. And when you look at the injuries of Ugochukwu, Lavia, I don't really know what's happening with that one. Maybe that's a good call, Maybe it is a good, sensible decision to bring Andre Santos back, and have him involved, at least off the bench. But for now, Enzo, Gallagher, Palmer in the 10, Cole Palmer, 6 goal contributions in December, nominated for Player of the Month. I don't know who the other nominees are. Who are they? I think the Solanke's in there. He'd be up with a good shout of it. Elise, a little bit too early for me, maybe. Who else is in that Player of the Month nominations? I think Cole Palmer's got a real good chance of getting it, And I do think that Cole Palmer is giving Gareth Southgate a serious, serious headache, because with the versatility he's shown, being able to play on the wing, being able to play in the 10, come off the bench, get goals, really cool, calm, composed, I think that Cole Palmer, penalty ability as well, I think Cole Palmer needs to be on the plane to Germany 2024. So, yeah, really needs to be there. I'm hoping to go out there for that. That will be good. Cole Palmer in the 10. Let's look at the forward line. On the right wing, I'm going to go Noni Madueke. Noni Madueke has impressed me massively since he's come back in to the fold. Obviously, goals against Palace and Luton. Showing a bit of resilience, actually, after spending all of that time on the sidelines, Noni Madueke. And I think he's proven to be a real vital player for us. So Noni Madueke, I would definitely give a run out again. And then in the number 9 position, I am going to go with Christopher Nkunku. I truly believe that we need to see Christopher Nkunku in the 9 position. When we've seen him come on, we've seen him play different sort of roles across that front line, you know. I was at the game against Newcastle in the Cup. When he came on in that match, he looked like he was sort of playing on the left wing. Then when he came on against Wolves, he looked slightly further forward. Again, you know, in the 9, I would say. Against Palace, he was playing off the back of Jackson somewhat. Against Luton, you know, he's chopping and changing time to time, basically. And now, without Nicholas Jackson, who's gone to the African Cup of Nations, with Amanda Broha looking unreliable to be able to provide us with goals at this moment in time, I understand that many people that watch Christopher Nkunku in the Bundesliga, even at PSG at times, will argue that his best position's in the 10, or his best position's drifting out wide, second striker. I'm not sure, but what I do know is we've got a gap in that number 9 spot. We're not going to sign Ivan Toney or Osimhen in January. So in that number 9 spot, even if we can have it rotating, you know, he goes there, then Palmer, then Sterling, or, you know, Mudryk, whoever's on the pitch at the time, we need to see Christopher Nkunku in that 9 position. And on the left wing, I'm bringing Raheem Sterling back into the fold. Now, this front line is really confusing for us Chelsea fans at the moment because we've not yet been able to see any real system nailed down in that front line. You know, in the early stages of the season, Raheem Sterling was our most important player. Christopher Nkunku's played a couple of different roles along there. Sometimes Cole Palmer's in a 10, sometimes he's on the right wing. Noni Madueke now coming back in. Mykhailo Mudryk's getting runner games, coming out and then not being in and then coming back in. So we really don't know how this jigsaw is going to eventually be put together. But what I do think is that we are going to get a trip to Wembley. I think we're getting through Middlesbrough in the Cup. And by that point, let's say, for example, we face Liverpool, who I'm guessing will overcome Fulham. But listen, good luck to Fulham. But if we do face Liverpool, could you tell me, what would our front 4, including the 10, be? Like, what is our strongest front 4, including the number 10? I believe it's probably Gallagher in the 10, Cole Palmer on the right, Nkunku in the false 9, number 9, although we need to see him there first, and then Sterling on the other side. But, you know, there's cases for Mudryk, cases for Madueke, who's, you know, in a good vein of form just recently. So I would love to know what you guys think is our best front line. Right, we could see Ben Chilwell on the bench. We could see Kane Chukwuemeka on the bench after hearing they have returned, to first full team training. Full first team, that's the one. Full first team training. They're back. We might see him on the bench, but it wouldn't surprise me if we didn't see either of them on the pitch. Look at the way he managed Nkunku. Nkunku makes the bench for the Sheffield United game, doesn't come on. Then the next time out against, who did he come on against? Newcastle when I was there, comes on 10, 15 minutes at the most. Wolves he came on, but then he eventually is, because of injuries and suspension, sort of forced into the starting lineup against Crystal Palace. Gives a fairly good account of himself. The next match against Luton, he's not in there and he comes back off the bench. And I think that Pochettino is trying to be very careful of managing these injuries, because we have had an injury crisis going back years now, but we started off this season bad. Then it looked like it was easing up. Reece James came back on the pitch, a few other players back in there, and then bang, we're straight back in the middle of an injury crisis. And with our lack of goals and Nkunku showing a lot of promise when we've seen him so far, I don't think Pochettino wants to risk that. So I think when we look at the likes of Kane Chukwuemeka and Ben Chilwell, Poch isn't going to risk them massively, just throwing them straight in at the deep end. I think they might make the bench. I don't think they'll come off it. Romeo Lavia, please tell me what's happening with him. Like, what is happening with him? I was really excited to see him come back, but now I just don't know what's going on with our injuries, man. What's going on with the medical team? People keep telling me you got to do a video on the medical team and you got to speak about. Listen, Bowley already sacked all the medical staff when he came in, and then he replaced them with new ones, and it's still happening time in, time out. I really don't know. What I do know is in this game, we need to get at Preston early. Preston will be under no illusions that what they need to do is come to Stamford Bridge, set up with that low block, and hope to get us into the later part of games when we have showed a little bit of mental fragility. It is no coincidence to me that later on in games is when we come unstuck. And actually, there's that stat, isn't there, that was doing the rounds last week that Chelsea are the only Premier League team to have not gone in at half-time this season, trailing so far. And when you see we're sitting 10th in the league or whatever, that's quite bewildering, isn't it, that we haven't trailed at half-time so far. But what that does tell me is in the second half of games, there's a lack of game management that might come down to the age of the squad, the mental maturity of the lack of bonding time they've had together. But I do believe that if we go in at half-time leading, if we get those early goals, then it takes a lot of the pressure off. It also forces Preston to have to play a bit of football against us, come out, because you can't just sit in a low block if you're 1 or 2 goals down, as we saw against Luton. And it didn't necessarily work for us against Luton in terms of us being able to split them open even more. But I tell you what, if we hadn't took a 2-goal lead or 3-goal lead early on against Luton, we wouldn't have won that match, because they absolutely peppered our goal towards the end, and I was absolutely shitting myself. Although I don't think that will happen in this match. Do you know what? As the days have gone on, I've got a lot more bullish, to use a quote of Josh Aveste's. I'm going 4-0 Chelsea in this match. I think we'll put Preston to the sword, march on into the next round, and really, really hopefully start a good run of form, or continue a good run of form going into this Middlesbrough match. I will be not live for the match. I'll be putting out a video straight away after the match to review it. Josh Aveste will be live, so go over to his channel and watch the game with him, and then come over here and watch my review. Guys, thank you for sticking around to the end of another video. If you haven't already, let me ask you to do a couple of things. Smash the like button. It really does help pump these videos out. Also, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Tell me what you think of my starting lineup, and tell me what you think you would do with your starting lineup. I will see you all in the next one.